power rankings with Lynsey and Taylor.
Yay! Yeah, let's talk about last episode really quickly. So, Chloe got voted out.
I know, that was quite a shock because I feel like we didn't get a lot of footage leading up to it that they were so set on Chloe. It seemed like the plan was more so for Aaron, but Chloe, it happened to work out for Chloe going home.
Yeah, well, it was weird because in the episode there was a lot of talk about, like, going and, like, flipping on Chloe between, like, Emily B and Will and Emily P and everyone. And the Holy Shit Alliance or whatever. But for some reason, I just didn't believe it. I was like, no way. I just thought for sure that Chloe would make it to merge. That was just, like, in my head. And I was like, there's no way she's going home. Like, that's just not a thing.
And it's crazy to me that, like, if Chloe and Aaron had conspired or something, they could have potentially saved themselves. But, like, they never even had the opportunity really to talk.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think Chloe sending that whole list of, like, all the things kind of screwed her over, too. Because that, like, cut her bridges with Aaron. Which also was a funny thing to me because she still thinks that Emily P is on her side. Oh, I'm like, Aaron, no, sweetie, get some new allies. Like, come on.
Honestly, it's so weird because they've been gunning for Aaron since week 1, but it's always like, nah, we'll get Aaron later. Like,
yeah.
So that's really interesting.
Yeah, it seems like she's becoming one of those people that are just constantly, like, they're like, we'll get her out. We'll get them out. But, like, never happens because there are other people who become more, like, of threats or, like, have vendettas against or whatever happens. So I think, yeah, honestly, it's remarkable. Aaron made it all the way to merge thus far, so.
Yeah. She's pretty much
props
keeping
to
under
her.
the radar a bit.
Yeah, I feel kind of bad for her, though, and I'll get into this, I guess, when I rank her, but, I don't know, it doesn't seem like she said this in the episode, too, where she was like, I could just use some real allies or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, like, I don't think anybody she's been talking to actually wants to work with her.
Yeah, and she seems like a loyal person. Like, she hasn't made any wrong moves game-wise, in my opinion, so it seems like everyone's just more of, like, a personal level. Just doesn't want to work with her, which is crazy.
Well, the thing about Aaron, this has become an Aaron podcast, but I feel like, yeah, like you said, she's not making a wrong move. She's doing everything she needs to. It just almost feels like she's playing in an alternate game.
Yeah.
Because, like, everybody else is, like, in their own bubble, and then she's over here, like, thinking she has these allies when she doesn't, and, like, trying to make these moves when it doesn't affect anyone else in the game because they're not working with her. So I just feel like it's just, like, a very strange situation to me with Aaron.
Especially, like, her calling Emily P her number 1. That was, like, already she just assumes that Emily P is, like, her number 1 ally, and, like, Emily P would do anything for her, but it's, like, that's not the case. So that's pretty tough to watch.
The other thing that stood out to me this episode, too, when it comes to Chloe, was I feel like Chloe is queen of saying, like, somebody's doing something for her or saying something to her, and she's like, you shouldn't be doing that, but, like, thanks.
I know.
Because before she had said how Brady was gonna apparently give her the idol, and she was like, he should definitely not be giving me the idol, but, like, thanks anyway. And then this episode, she was like, Austin came up to me and was like, I want to use this vote to save you. And she was like, he definitely shouldn't, but thanks. I was like, that's adorable. I love Chloe. So, rest in peace. I think she deserved better. But, you know, she was voted out because she was too much of a threat. So, I understand it, especially when you're coming to merge. Like, that makes sense. So, I'm just excited, personally, to see how this, like, Holy Shit Alliance, like, if that's going to stick with merge, or, like, what the dynamics are gonna be.
Yeah, definitely. In my opinion, the Holy Shit Alliance was sort of just a thing to get by a week. That's how I felt, but it'd be interesting to see if it continued on.
Yeah. So, let's go ahead and get into our power rankings, then. I struggle putting these people in a list. I don't know. I feel like there's so many dynamics, and I don't know what alliances are real or what's going to stick, and so I think it's really hard to place people in positions, because I don't know, maybe I just don't have good perception. I'm just like, like, who knows?
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot going on in the game where there's just, like, a lot of lying. And obviously there is a lot of lying in Survivor, but to me it's like, there's, like, layers to everyone's lies. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not working with this person, but they think that I am. But that's happening, like, throughout the whole game. Like, everyone is pretty much doing that. So,
yeah.
It's tough to rank people, because it's like, what are they actually thinking?
Yeah, someone who's been lying a lot recently is Emily Paddock, who I have placed in my number one position. I don't know if people are going to yell at me for this or not, but we'll see.
I mean, I put her as my number one as well.
Yeah. Because it seems to me, the way she's set up for this coming episode, because they're really highlighting the Ben versus Will thing, and she's apparently both of their number ones, I don't think it's possible for her to go home this coming week. Like, I just don't think it would ever happen, because I think Ben and Will are so set on getting each other out, or even getting anybody else out, rather than Emily P. And the only way I think she would go home is if people discovered all her lies, but I don't think they'll communicate about that. It seems like they're way too at odds. So I think she's, like, really set, honestly.
I think that Emily P. is in such a great position because, like she said, she can pretty much pick a side. And right now, she's playing sort of the middleman, like, not picking a side, playing both sides, but she's doing it really, really well.
Yeah.
Like, they have pretty much no idea that she's doing it, I don't think. And at the same time, she's pitting them further against each other to evade them going after her. Like, she just is playing super, super well.
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for her game right now. Particularly because she's the one pitting them against each other. Like, we saw in the last episode her telling Will during that confessional that Loki looked like a drug deal. But she was telling Will that Ben said he wanted Will to be, like, one of the first merge boots.
And it's like, it was literally her that said it.
Yeah.
So.
Right, and well, Ben maybe would have mentioned that at some point. She's the one, like, telling Will this stuff, which pits them against each other and makes Will trust her more. And I'm sure Ben with the same thing. So, I think she's playing really, really well, and I think she has allies on either side that she chooses. So I'm really curious to see, like, which route she's going to take with that.
Yeah. Next, I have Will, which Taylor really doesn't, but I just think, since obviously the upcoming episode is titled Will versus Ben, I think Will is the person in the better position, in my opinion. I think that him being part of that alliance and pretty much getting more and more people to trust him, I think he comes off as shady to them, but I just don't see them thinking it's too big of a deal right now. I think that in the coming merge, like, unless, like, something crazy happens, I just don't see him really being a target. Only being a target from Ben's side, which, in my opinion, isn't as strong because there's not as many people on that end of things.
Yeah.
So.
No, I can definitely see how you hold Will over Ben. Me rearranging my list. But, like, I don't know. I think Ben has burned his bridges like, way too early. I think he, like, kind of, I don't even know what the word for it is, but, like, he came out really strong, making all these alliances, doing all these things, like, tenfold. Like he said, he's always steps ahead of everyone. But he's come to the point where I feel like he's ran out of steps. And I don't think he really has a path forward because he basically hates everyone in the game. He's like, I don't want to work with Eliza, and then he's, like, trashing on Will, and so I feel like he doesn't have a lot of allies left anymore. Will, on the other hand, I don't know. I'm just nervous about him because his paranoia, I feel like, could be the death of him. And I think it all just depends on how much people are willing to tolerate of Will, like, going off the walls. And I just feel like, similar to Ben, I think Will is very capable of burning his own game into the ground by, like, I don't know, causing too much trouble or getting too paranoid and saying too many things, making too many plans, that kind of thing. So that's why I don't really have him at the top.
Yeah, definitely. And, like, just in my opinion, I don't see Will making it super far. Like, I don't see him making it much further than this, but I think just for this week, Merge is definitely gonna shake things up, and since, like, the Holy Shit Alliance sort of stuck together and, like, were able to vote together, I feel like they'll use that to get by another week, you know?
Yeah,
so.
That makes sense. So, for my person in second, I actually put Emily B, which may shock some people as well. I just feel like she's in a really good position because she's still really closely aligned with all of old Sabu Sabu. It seems like they're still trying to stick together and work together. And she's also made extra alliances with Will and Emily P. And I feel like she has a connection to most people in this game. And I think she's playing very under the radar. Like, I don't think a lot of people... I mean, one or two people had mentioned her name this past episode, but it clearly... they decided they wanted to work with her instead of going after her. And I think that'll stick true for a little while at least. And I don't think she'll be on people's radar to be, like, one of the first Merge boots at this point.
Definitely. She seems really loyal to who she's working with. And, like, we saw it a few tribals ago that Sabu Sabu is definitely willing to stick together. So,
definitely. Who do you have third?
I have Eliza third. It was kind of hard putting her... I feel like there's three big players, in my opinion. Ben, Will, and Eliza. They're not necessarily playing the best game, but to me, they're being viewed as, like, the biggest players in the game. And I think that Eliza, of those three, is doing probably the best job at it. Like, she made that whole move of playing her idol, yet it doesn't seem to me that they're wanting to necessarily go after her.
Yeah.
Like, I think she's doing an incredible job maintaining relationships and, like, all that jazz. So, I just don't see her, you know, if people were really that upset with her making the move, they'd be like, oh, she's gonna go, like, I want her gone, but no one's really saying that we're seeing, so.
Yeah, that's a good point. I have Eliza just a little bit lower, but still pretty high up because, yeah, she's clearly a player, and that just makes me nervous coming into Merge. I think that, honestly, at this point, if they haven't decided to go after her, I don't think they'll have the opportunity to go after her for a little while. That's what it seems like to me, but I had her below Brady and Austin, who are my next picks, just because I feel like Eliza does stand out more than them because she's already made a move. And so while people aren't going after her right now, I still think people have it in the back of their heads, like, she did this, like, she was the orchestrator of it all, and that makes her more of a threat than some other people.
Yeah, definitely.
Third on my list, I have Brady. I feel like Brady, it seems like he's very under the radar at this point. Like, I have not heard a single person mention getting Brady out at all. He still has his idol at this point, which is really awesome for him, especially since, like, both idols, the other idols have already been flushed. And the only person who knows about his idol is Ben.
Which, okay, that's the part that makes me nervous, because Ben, he doesn't seem that reliable, and I'm nervous for Brady that may get out if Ben and Brady were to cut ties or something. But I agree, Brady for the most part is under the radar.
I'm not really sure how tight Ben and Brady are now at this point. I know Ben was upset about the whole tribal where he almost went home. But I don't know if they've kind of restored ties at this point and are working together. But either way, I feel like Brady, I don't know. I don't think he has the most ties to everyone in the game. I think there are other people that are more connected, like Emily P. But at the same time, I just don't think he's on people's radars right now. And he could end up working with, like, Dylan and Cassie mainly. I'm really curious to see who else he decides to work with.
I do want to see him work more with people.
Yes.
Like, it just seems like he's sort of sticking with, you know, the people he's known since, like, day one instead of really reaching out, which, now that Chloe's gone, I feel like could really hurt him.
Definitely. Because I feel like Chloe was his, like, I don't know, his other number one, even though he didn't tell her about the idol, whatever. But I feel like she was there with him, and now that he's lost her, I think he's going to have to work a little bit harder and not just sit back on his hind legs and wait. So I'm excited to see what he does with that.
So for number 4, I personally had Ben. Again, Taylor did not have that, but
no.
Just to me, Ben, it was hard, again, putting Ben, Will, and Eliza at the top. It's just, in my opinion, Ben, of those people, if Ben were to be a target, I just know he would be able to get out of that. Like, especially since he has pretty much access to Brady's idol, so they could do something big. Ben is, like, not necessarily reliable, but I just don't see enough people rallying behind voting him out.
Interesting. I just feel like a big disagree on that one. I don't know. I just don't think at this point Ben and Brady are close enough, and I don't think Brady would be willing to give up his idol to Ben. I think Ben's on his own unless he finds the merge idol, which I think he's definitely capable of, and I can see him, like, going to all lengths to find it. But like I said earlier, I feel like he's kind of just played a little too hard, or at least is interpreting things as, like, more grandeur than they, like, actually are. I don't know, because he, like I said, he doesn't want to work with Eliza anymore, or at least doesn't truly want to work with her. He doesn't want to work with Bill. I'm gonna cry. Yeah, Bill. Well, I don't even know how to continue my sentence anymore. He doesn't want to work with Will. Clearly they're at odds with each other, so, and honestly, I think Emily P is leaning more towards working with Will. Definitely. Based on the edit, at least, so I think he's lost Emily P too. We'll see in the next episode.
It's just, like, I don't see enough people voting for him. I don't know why.
No, I can see that too. Like, I think he's still just, like, he's likable, honestly, and so I think people, he can fish himself out of this situation, you know? He can cast his own lines, save himself.
And I feel like his confessionals are really interesting to me because he always assumes, like, the absolute worst.
Yeah.
When it's, like, he was assuming the worst, like, right off the bat, like, week 3 or something. When it was, like, he was perfectly fine. So, I'm not sure if he's hyping up the fact that he may be in danger or something, but I don't see him being a target this
week. No. I think I'm definitely leaning into the marketing strat that they're doing right now, where they're like, Ben versus Will. And so the way that they're, like, portraying it seems to me like one of them are gonna go home.
That's true.
Was that right? Proper grammar?
One of them were gonna go.
One of them is gonna go home?
Yeah.
Anywho, yes. So it seems like it has to be Ben or Will, but I can definitely see, like, it ending up being, like, someone completely different, but I'm just leaning into that because, I don't know, I want to. And, like, I'm ready for, like, a showdown between them, but at the same time, I'm just, like, okay, like, I don't know, Ben versus Will. I don't know. It's just a weird thing to me that I'm not, like, super, super into that whole, like, dynamic between them, but whatever. So I just feel like Ben doesn't really have as many connections anymore, because I think he's so in his head.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think Ben is, like, retreating, whereas Will is like, you are my ally, let's form together. So,
yeah.
I forget who I was on. 4? Are we only on 4? Oh, boy. My 4th spot is Austin. I feel like, okay, I have Austin and then Eliza. I feel like, honestly, they could be switched because I feel like Eliza has more prowess. And also, Austin just, like, spilled some beans to Aaron without realizing. He was like, they told me not to say anything, and then he said everything to her.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the alliance that he's in, the Holy Shit Alliance, the Holy Shiznit Alliance, if you will, I feel like they may be upset with him and not trust him as much anymore since he, like, kind of blabbered everything to Aaron and is causing, like, issues for them. But at the same time, I feel like him being part of that alliance, and I feel like he has, honestly, I feel like he's a lot of connections to most people.
Yeah.
He's been talking to them, and I feel like he doesn't appear as a threat to them, which I think is really helpful for him.
Definitely. That makes sense. For my number 5, I have Brady. I mean, we talked a little bit more about him earlier, but I think that he's ranked, pretty high. Don't see him being a target this coming merge, and he has an idol. Like, it can't get any better than that, So,
what's better than this? Brady having an idol.
Oh my god.
So after Austin and Eliza, I personally have Devin in my, 6th spot.
Interesting. I have Devin so low.
Oh, snap.
Well, I'm interested. Why do you have Devin so high?
I feel like Devin's just along for the ride, in my view. Which may not be the case, obviously, based on, like, what actually happened. But I just feel like he is, I don't know, he's doing whatever Eliza says, honestly, I feel like. And while I'm sure he's, like, contributing and whatnot, it doesn't seem to me like he's, like, a ringleader of any sorts. So, he's being included in this Holy Shit Alliance, but I feel like he's not actually, like, I don't know, a key player, I guess I would say.
Yeah, I had him pretty low just because, like you said, he is following whatever Eliza's doing, and it's sort of like, I didn't put him low because I thought he was going to be voted out, like, next or so. It's just, like, in terms of who's playing the best game, I just don't think he's really doing much.
Yeah.
I don't think he has a lot of, the only thing going for him is he's being really loyal to Eliza, and that's pretty much all. Like, he's not really doing anything.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think loyalty is really, really important. And while I don't think, I don't know if he's gonna have, like, an up-and-coming post-merge and, like, do something crazy. It doesn't really seem like his kind of arc, like, character arc. I just feel like he's safe in the sense that he's surrounded by a lot of other people who are way bigger targets, and it seems like this is the kind of group that wants to take out bigger targets first. So, I think he's safe for a little bit, especially under Eliza's wing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have Emily B next. I think, okay, so everything that you said about Devin, I think that also goes for Emily B, but she's playing a better game in the sense that she's, like, actually involved in the moves, I think, like, in the actual planning and stuff. I think that she's really under the radar right now, and, like you said, surrounded by bigger targets. Like, no one's really saying that they want to go after Emily B because they don't perceive her as, like, a huge threat. But, come endgame, she can say that she was, like, really part of all these plans. Like, no one really, like, saw her as a threat. So I just think that she's in a really great spot.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Plus, I just feel like she has more allies than Devin does. Like, she's making the moves here. For me, next, I have Jessie in number 7th spot.
We're kind of close. I had Jessie a little bit further down, but I had Dylan next.
Okay, so I have Dylan right under Jessie, and so I feel like, I don't know what's going on with Jessie. I want so badly for, like, just Jessie to, like, rise up, freaking take that crown she deserves.
She's kind of confusing to me. Like, she was odd because she was such an integral part of being part of Emily, Ben, and Will. But now she's sort of just, like, distanced herself from them, like, in terms of plans for the game. But she's not really trying anything new. She's sort of just along for the ride. Like, wasn't she the one that voted for Austin? Like, she just was completely in, like,
another world.
So I don't know what that was. But people don't really seem to be talking about her. She just seems to be kind of there for now.
Yeah, I feel like the definition of Jessie right now is she is just kind of there. And I think people will rope her into plans if they want to use her almost, but I don't see anyone having Jessie as, like, their number one kind of person.
It's kind of frustrating because, you know, right off the bat, she knew that Ben and Will were just using her. And, like, that's fair, but then she's sort of not really doing anything to, like, come out of that and, like, not trying to integrate herself with new alliances. So
right, I was hoping so badly for, like, a Mallory kind of arc here, and I feel like Jessie would have been even better than Mallory because of her perception so early on in the game. And I'm just, like, frustrated every time I watch Jessie. I'm just like, come on, you can do it, like, just a little more, you got it. So I'm like, I always root for Jessie, but at the same time, right now I don't see in the future her doing anything because this whole entire pre-merge, she's just kind of been along for the ride. And I know Will had said in the last episode that he didn't want to include her right now because apparently he can tell that she doesn't really trust him, but he said he would maybe rope her in later again. So I just feel like no one's going to vote Jessie off right now. Like, I think she's just fine. Just kind of floating out in outer space right now, doing whatever.
For me, I had Dylan in that spot. Dylan, it's like, I feel like he has some power in the fact that they were initially, well, at least during Sarah's tribal, they had the choice between Sarah and Dylan pretty much, but they were just like, nah, not Dylan. So I feel like he has a lot of potential, and a lot of people do, like, want to give him the chance and, like, do want to work with him. So I think moving forward, he's going to be a great person in Merge because he hasn't made it known that he's solidified himself fully with Brady, Ben, and, like, that whole side. He's sort of, like, an open person, you know? He's ready to make new alliances, in my opinion.
Yeah, honestly, I could see Dylan being above Jessie now that I think about it more. Because I think Dylan's in a situation now where he can kind of decide who he wants to align with, and I think they would accept him because of this, like, merge situation. Things are changing. The thing is, he doesn't have his close ally of Sarah anymore. All he really has is, like, Cassie and kind of Brady. But we saw in the last episode him reaching out to old members of Savu Savu, and reaching out to, like, Brady and everybody. And so we see that he's starting to make an effort, and I am praying that we get some, like, Dylan Strat time. Like, I really want to see him make some plans, because I know he has it in him. Like, I literally know. He could be such a good post-merge player. So I hope we get some more confessionals from him. And he has the social, like, prowess to, like, back him up, too, because, like, I think people just like him. Like, he's just a cool guy. So I definitely can see him rising up the ranks here, hopefully.
Definitely. Next I have Cassie. She's lower, in my opinion, of, like, the Ben, Brady, you know, that whole side. Just because it doesn't seem to me that she is reaching out to people. While I give her credit because I think that the tribal where everything sort of went awry, and she made, it seemed to me that week a bit of, oh my god, why am I, like, forgetting English? It seems to me that she started to form enemies a little bit, just with, like, how tribal council went, but it doesn't seem that, like, Emily B and all of them are really wanting revenge for that. But at the same time, it seems like Cassie just isn't reaching out to people. Like, she's sort of just, like, trailing along, following, like, Brady, being super loyal to that side, and I just, like, am not convinced that side is very strong, so.
Yeah, I just feel like Cassie is kind of stagnant at this point. She keeps losing allies, and I don't see her making any moves to get new ones. And I don't see, like, no one's really seems like they want to work with Cassie. Whereas Dylan, it seems like they're more willing to, like, reach out and work with him. But Cassie, I don't think she's making those moves herself, and I don't see anyone reaching out to her. So I think she's also just kind of there, and, like, I can see people more going after her than other people.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I see her sort of being an easy target by those people, even though they haven't really been, like, speaking on her being, like, a threat. But just, like, if they want to get out someone on, like, Ben's side, I feel like she'd just be such an easy vote.
Right. Next on my list, I have Erin. So this is where I feel like everyone's gonna hate me. They're gonna be like, Taylor, you're so stupid for leaning into the Will versus Ben. I don't care, okay? This is my list, not yours. So, I have Erin above Will and Ben. I forget why, actually. Let me think about it. I feel like Erin, like I was saying before, she's playing her own game, and she's not making any wrong moves. I just think Erin's perception right now is like, like a 1 out of 10. But I think if she gets some new allies, like if someone just ropes her in somewhere, I think she can really thrive. Yeah. So I don't think it's over for her yet. And like we were saying before, she's just constantly like someone that they may want to vote out. Her name's constantly being thrown out. But I think at this point it's just like, I don't know. I can see people going after others before going after her now.
Yeah, that's like my same thinking with Erin, even though I have her as last. But my third to last would be Austin. You did make some really good points. I feel like he is well integrated with a lot of people. I don't see him really making moves. I feel like he's someone that is super passionate about the game, but like that comes off as him like thinking he's making all these moves, but he's just not really. Like, I feel like he's sort of more along for the ride, and people like him as a person, which is really great, but I think as an ally, no one is necessarily taking him super seriously.
Yeah. No, I see that too. I don't know. I just feel like Austin is I just can't see people going after him right now. That's my thing. Fair. And I can still see people going after Erin, but I feel like at this point, it's honestly like whoever makes a mistake that week. Like, whoever tells the wrong person they want to go after someone, and then they'll tell that person, and then they form plans against each other. That's what it seems like it's going to be like with Will and Ben, which is why I have them on the bottom. I can see them still voting someone else out in the end, but I don't know. I feel like Will and Ben are at odds, so it's like a them versus us mentality.
Yeah, for my last two, I had Devin and Erin, just because I think that they do have people, at least Devin. Devin has people protecting him, and he has a lot of people not wanting him out, so I don't necessarily see him being a target, but it's just like, those two would be easy people to, get out. It's like, Devin is integrated with, like, Eliza and all them, so he has her protecting him, but that can only go so far, and I feel like if it came down to it, if a bunch of people, like, gunned for Devin or Erin, like, I feel like the majority would go with that.
Yeah, I can see that, too. Well, that concludes our lovely power rankings. I am slightly annoyed that this week we're only getting a podcast situation. You don't understand. I was watching the last episode, and they told me I was not getting the next episode this week. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? So, it's fine. Guess I'll just have to wait another week. I'm getting, like, flashbacks of season 1 when I had to wait 2 weeks for the last episode to come
Wait, you
out.
saying, like, the other day that you had to wait months? You were like, oh, I had to wait months
for the next season. I was upset about that, too. When I found that out, I almost cried. It's fine, though. So, you'll all have to wait a little bit to see our and hear, I guess, very lovely voices.
Yes, of course. I know that this is so entertaining to listen
to our 2 listeners. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and end this before it gets too out of hand. But that's all. I hope you all have a lovely week.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.